biography natin. Okay, so, wala tayong invocation, but I will ask you all to say a little private prayer for me. Kasi actually, very intimidated ako sa topic nito. Each one of them can be a sentiment non-present in each by itself. No? But the three of them put together, hindi ko talaga alam kung so, cultural competence, gender sensitivity, and social accountability. Uso-uso silang lahat ngayon. So, I really don't know. So, kaya yung folder ko, when I was preparing for this talk, isang malaking folder siya na title is 3 in 1. Kasi ang hapa-hapa ko tutulad mo lang yan. So, 3 in 1. Okay, so, yeah. So, in advance, kung merong medyo hindi ako masagasaan sa mga expectations nyo. So, I will try to focus on what is ano yung common sa kanilang tatlo. Okay. So, session objective. So, 3 big topics. I will also tackle it in 3, well, answering the 3 basic questions. I will usually advise the good habit to divide your lectures in those 3 basic ones, which is the what, the why, and the how. So the what of these 3. So we will try to discuss, but by the end of it, we should have an understanding, we should be able to explain at least the concept and the basic principles regarding these 3 competencies, cultural competence, gender sensitivity, and social accountability. Regarding the why, is to be able to explain why we need to teach them. Why, what is their relationship, in particular, what is their relation to healthcare, outcomes. And then on the how, the NTTC part, so we will try to come up with some suggestions on how these 3 competencies can be effectively taught. Okay, and then again, since nakakadula yung scope, in order to help you and to help me keep track of kung nasa na tayo, I will always have those 3 icons or pictures on top so that you know if I'm talking about cultural competence, gender sensitivity, or social accountability. And then the question, what, why, or how. So that you know what objective we are tackling in that session. So pwede na kayo matulog, magising nyo, malaman nasa na tayo. And then if all 3 of them are on top, then it means it pertains to all. Okay. So with that, my question, what is the common denominator between these 3? Culture, gender, and socio-economic factors. Hindi na. Okay, very good. The 3 variables of what? Okay, so on this 3 aspects, yeah, people differ. Yes, okay. So these are the 3 areas where people differ from each other. Culture, gender, and socio-economic factors. Very good. What else? What can you say? What is the common? Para bang 3 pictures, 1 word. 3 pictures, 1 word. So if you were, ano yung 1 word? What is the concept that unites the 3? People. Okay. Although you can talk about the institutional culture. What else? People. Affect. Somebody mentioned affect. They affect health. Okay, they affect health. Okay, very good. Ano pa? Okay, why do you think that? So they highlighted where? Okay, so in education, these are, in a way, some of those objectives that are usually not highlighted, not given focus. Why do you think? And yet it's different because of the point of variability. So you said, okay, values. Somebody mentioned also it's not really focused when you're teaching. Usually when you're making your design for a course, um, diretso kayo sa content of the course, the skill component of the course, no? But these things are not head-on tackled. So these are really, yun, as was mentioned, medyo nakakaligtaan siya. So, why? Because they're talking about values, which are, so it's not about what you know. Education where you're still focused very much on what you know. So we teach what is needed, the knowledge that's needed. So we're very knowledge focused. So our teaching is knowledge based usually. But values is not about what you know. It's not also about what you can do. So values is about what you believe in and how it comes out basically in your decision making. So yun, so medyo mahirap siyang tuhugin sa course objectives or sa course design natin. So as you said, it's often neglected. Attitudes. So when you're writing your KSA, suppose like this time, you have that habit when you're writing your learning objectives. You divide already. You already know that you have to come up with your K objective, knowledge objective, your skill objective, and your attitudinal objective. And I've been teaching instructional design for some years only, pero I think my observation with all of it, more cases than ang hirap-hirap ng gawa ng attitudinal objective. So, usually nangyayari, mahaba ng cognitive knowledge objectives, no? Motor, depending on the subject, minsan mahaba din. Pagdating sa attitudinal objectives, it's respect. One word, respect. Tapos, you can't even define how, what's respect exactly? No? Well, how do you want to operationalize that respect, no? In your course, in your subject. So, mahirap siya i-define. But it corresponds to the attitudinal areas of our course objectives. Of course, as in any attitude, meron siya cognitive component. But it's more heavily the attitudinal component. Okay, they are the 21st century competencies of a health professional. And this may be one of the reasons why you're here, no? Because lumalabas na siya more and more in the CMOs. Lumalabas na siya sa yung CMO 46, no? For all health professionals, in our individual check memorandum orders for the different professions, lalabas na rin yung mga yan, no? Cultural competence, social accountability, and gender sensitivity. And because lumabas na siya sa CMOs, ibig sabihin, we have to start giving evidence. So if your schools are aiming for accreditation, then you're going to have to start showing evidence that you have this thing. Either in, at least in theory, sa curriculum mismo na masulat, and then in practice, you're going to have to show some evidence also that you are tackling it, that you're covering it, and that you actually have outcomes regarding these competencies. Okay, and then the last one, somebody mentioned, they affect health. So these are social determinants of health. This is pretty big thing. The social determinants of health. Okay. What are social determinants of health? Non-clinical factors that affect a person's overall that affect a person's overall health. How does it affect a person's health? First of all, who are the socials? Sino bang involved in health? Obviously, the patient. The patient's culture, the patient's gender, the patient's social factors will affect their health. This one medyo obvious, medyo self-explanatory yan. There are some disease entities which are more prevalent given a specific gender, or given your cultural, given your culture, or even, for example, it's pretty well established that education, or the level of education, level of poverty, will have effect on health. Also because of not just availability of resources for you, but also your health-seeking behaviors are also affected by your level of education and poverty, etc. So disease prevalence and also patient behavior, treatment acceptance, treatment compliance. So again, we can see how culture can significant effects on this. Kung sinabi ng doktor, uminom ka nito, pero yun na nga, kung nasa medical ko, or kung nasa hindi yan yung sabi ng aming shaman, whoever it is that you believe in when it comes to your health needs. So, so it can affect your, not just the disease, the causation of disease, the prevalence of disease, but also your acceptance of certain treatment and your compliance with treatment. And then you also have the health professional. The health professional also has consequences, the culture, the gender sensitivity of the health professional. How do they determine health? Not directly, but indirectly, because they can be the source of bias. Source of bias and therefore differential treatment. And then, as well, the health institution. It's going to come out in the policies, in the quality of care. Whether or not your health institution has the direct, ngayon kasi komo na may directions, hospitals have, even yung tamang paghuhugas ng kamay. But what can you imagine a hospital where it's all in English? So what about those people who cannot understand English? What if your hospital is situated in the Visayas, since you got all your health materials from Manila, they're all in Tagalog or English. They have very nice health materials, but they're not understandable to your population. So again, quality of care will be affected by policy. So these are the social determinants of health, and therefore they lead to variable health outcomes or health disparities. Okay. So just in case again, and for my sake, I'll give you an overview. So regarding the what, overview of the whole afternoon. Regarding the what, these three, culture, gender, and social factors, they provide the context. And we all exist in context, in a context. So we already showed how the patient's context affects disease prevalence and patient behavior. The health professionals' context will determine bias, possible bias, and health variability. And then even institutional context. Who is running your institution? What is the mission vision of that institution? Might have consequences on your health policy that might, whether you know it or not, whether you agree or not, end with some disparities. Lead to some disparities in the health care that you give. So that is the importance of this, really, because they are the context wherein we try to serve, that we are trying to give our health care. Now, regarding why is it important to teach it, is because depending on the competence or lack of competence of the health professional, of the institution, so in themselves, they are already social determinants of health. But as a consequence of your lack of competence, you can end up actually as barriers to health, social barriers to health. We end up with healthcare disparities and negative health outcomes. What we want, and that's why we are trying to educate our health professionals, and hopefully they will influence their health institutions, is that with competence, we will have positive and equitable health outcomes. Okay, and then regarding the how, So I will try to show you some of the research, some of the literature, what it says about how teaching cultural competence, gender sensitivity, and social accountability. But in general, if I were to look at all of them, I'd say that they are all, it's common to all of them, is that um, they can be summarized into three sub-competencies. So these three, each of them, these three competencies, you want to study them, you have to divide the competence, or you want to teach them, you have to divide the competence into three. First is the competency of being aware. So there's a lot of knowledge component here. So you have to, your professionals, your health professionals, have to be aware of the factors at play in their institution, in the specific encounter that she's having or is having with a specific patient. So to at least be knowledgeable. So if you know that you are practicing in this province, you have to know what are the cultural issues of that province. What are their beliefs? What are the things that are there which might get in the way of patient compliance, of their understanding your treatment or accepting your treatment. So there's a lot of studying here. So awareness. So that's the first competency, awareness. And this includes awareness of yourself. We said that the competency is the patient, the health professional, and the health institution. So not just the patient, but are you aware of your beliefs? Are you aware of your possible biases? So that's also part of awareness. And then are you aware of your institution's policies and how that could be positive or negatively affecting a patient's behavior? So again, those are all awareness. So the first level of competency would be awareness. So they have to be able to be aware. So they have to be aware that something is at play. And then the second level or the second phase of that competence would be the capacity to assess. So it's not just competently you know these things exist. These are in this place, this is the function, these are their beliefs. But here right now, in this encounter that I'm having with my patient, can you assess what is at play and how is it affecting my patient? How is it affecting? Kaya niya hindi binibili yung aming explanation. It's because she believes this. This thing exists in their culture, and that's what she's believing in, and maybe that's why she's resisting my treatment plan. Yeah. So it's not just a cognitive knowledge, but it's the skill of assessing in the here and now, how is it affecting the patient encounter. So that assessment. And then the third one is the capacity to adapt. So that's still part of the competency to adapt. To adapt to that situation. So that, of course, our end result, end product that we want is health. Health for our patient. This is with these things will get it in the way. So you have to know, you have to assess, and you have to maneuver yourself. So that in the end, what we want happens, which is that health takes place. End product is the health. But it doesn't mean that it's going to happen in your way. You're going to have to basically respect the cultural diversity and the preferences of the patient. And yeah, but a lot of it really is the skill. That's why it's called the competency. The skill of explaining, of accepting and adapting to the understanding of the patient, and also the capacity to explain it in such a way that the patient understands you and will accept your treatment plan. Okay? So that is basically what is in common with the overview of what we want to say. So okay. Cultural competence. So we will go one by one. Cultural competence. Okay, what is culture? Culture is the totality of transmitted patterns of thoughts, values, meanings, and beliefs. So none of them are very easily measurable. So it's all really the level of abstract. And this is a very famous picture to the right there. And the significance of that picture is simply to tell us the amount that is visible versus the amount that's underneath the water. So you have an iceberg, it's a very powerful thing. And I don't know the Titanic. So we know what icebergs can do. It's very powerful, and yet it's only, that's why there's that expression, the tip of the iceberg. Only the tip of the iceberg is visible. The bigger part of the iceberg is underneath the water. So culture is the same thing. It's powerful, it's big, but we can only see a very small part of it. And we can see it in the rituals, the gestures, the art, the music, the customs, the facial expression, and in the food. So that's where culture is manifested. And then underneath, so many things. The religion, concept of self, concept of personal space, notions of modesty, friendship, work ethic, concept of fairness, concept of beauty. But a lot of people's decision making are based on those under the water concepts or beliefs. Okay? Bakit paano yung business ng surgery? Because of globalization, na tayo dito natin mag-Korean. I mean, you know how much Korean, diba, that the business of plastic surgery is so, it's so acceptable. It's really part of their culture already. So, a little bit of that is also coming in already. So now it's not so, they're trying to make it cheaper, they're trying to make it more acceptable. So globalization really is, with this globalization, the boundaries are also going down. So cultures are influencing each other in imperceptible ways, because it's not even intentional, because the kids are on the net and they're exposed to each other. Okay? So culture. So this culture defines our worldview. Our worldview defines our decision making, affects the decision making. And that's why it's important to know them. Okay, culture and health. Okay, culture is important for patient identity. There are many stresses and tensions that are culturally related. Non-verbal and verbal communication may differ from culture to culture. So I just found out that the shaking of the head, for example, the Indian is opposite. To nod is to be no, and to shake the head is to be yes. So it's completely opposite of ours. And so unless you know that, kung sabi mo, masakit po ba? Your decision making is mali. Because of that, not knowing. Okay? Rapport and confidence is affected by culture-related behaviors, acceptance and compliance to a prescribed therapy will be determined or affected by it. So here, just to show you again that this thing, that culture is a social determinant of health, and that it is a possible barrier to health as well. If the health professional does not know, is not culturally competent, then wrong decision, wrong pick up of cues. So there are some cultures that you do not look at the eyes when you're communicating, especially if you're a man and your patient is a woman. You do not look at the eyes. Things like this, you need to know so that we can behave appropriately. Okay. Cultural awareness is a prerequisite prior to achieving cultural competence. So cultural awareness is the understanding that there is a cultural divide. So we said aware, what's the second A? Assess, adapt. So you cannot go to the assess and adapt if you are not aware. Okay, we'll have a little, it's a nice small group. So just a small, just the line that you are in, 4 people, 4 to 3 people. I want you just to identify one cultural factor, an experience. Share an experience that you had or observed, where it's a cultural factor, whether it is race, ethnicity, educational level, gender, socioeconomic status, affected the patient encounter. So try to say what was the culture play and how did you or how did the person, the health professional react, and if you reach number 3, how could that be managed better? But more important is the awareness. No? So at least identify that there is such a thing, this culture, and I think it's affected in this way. 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Can you share with your seatmates? Kahit makaano lang kayo ng isa. One cultural experience or one experience. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, wrap up. Up. Okay, can you go back to your seats and let us share in the conversation. Okay, okay, are we ready? So I will listen to you will try to share, but let us share it in the context of when will we need to practice cultural competence. So these are some patient health professional encounters, and yung mga naisip nyo, mga experiences that you had, when we come across such encounters or in the area of encounter, that's when I want you to raise your hand and share. So we're not here, just a reminder, no, we're not here to exhaust or to solve the issue that you discovered, but we're just here to identify. Identify possible areas and possible cultural issues. Because what we're trying to find out here is, are we aware? Do we realize that such things exist? So what is happening in the picture now? This is the what phase of clinical encounter? Patient interview. So the initial patient interview. Were some of your experiences connected to that initial patient interview? Yeah? A lot? Can you have a show of hands? Who would like to explain? Who would like to explain? Okay? Okay? Alam ko, nabilang ko 8 yung group. So dapat total makadinig ako ng 8. Huh? So early, you raise your hand. What was your encounter? Honorary ng professional. Um, well, an experience where you experienced how culture affected the clinical encounter. I shared with my experience of education patient, experience a patient, think of cancer investigation, seeking help for the pinabalik-balik siya, ibalik-balik siya. Kasi parang I know that treatment of health professionals of these patients will be better if they are seeking training patients. Okay. So the issue of socio-economic and so there's a judgment there. There's an impression that socio-economic status affects the care, the speed of the care, the quality of the care. Okay. Anybody else? Any other group had regarding initial patient interview? Okay. Okay. Hindi naman life-threatening. Okay. Okay. Very important. Yeah, delicate procedure. Okay, very good. Okay. So, where is the incompetence there? Well, I suppose if you are a health professional and you are aware that the patient is from a different linguistic group. No? So, at least to have asked, confirmed. So, to confirm with the bantay, no, with a companion, or with kung walang kasama yung pasyente, with if you can find somebody who knows Bisaya. I don't think it's that difficult. No? To find. Like in this room, how many people speak Bisaya? Okay. So it's not very hard. No? It's not very difficult to find somebody who speaks. No? So, iba na lang kung Russian. Does anybody here who speaks Russian? Medyo mahirap yun. Pero yung within our own country, I think it will not be difficult. Anybody else that has an experience regarding the patient encounter, during patient encounter? Yes, I mean the initial patient interview. Okay?
Clinical practice research. In research, we have a research about indigenous people. Okay. So come to think about it, we are going to explain genetics, basic genetics in their own language. So what we did was we came up with a model, culture sensitive model, wherein we did not use the teaching of the use aids in the very visual. So that is come to think about it, the cost of the body is still. So how are you going to explain genes? How to explain DNA? So we came up with a module na pinapakita mo na hindi kung ano nakikita mo sa palabas ng katawan mo, hindi ka totoo, kasi meron ka talagang macro level na cell, chromosomes, so that's one of the research level. And then in the clinical setting, see, we are from the genetics. So come to think about it.
Extra kayo sa akin.
So, since marami, even the word mana. The word mana itself, pag sinasabi mo, ganyan po ba kayong namamanan?
Yes, I will include that later. So,
I will not discuss that anymore.
We can stick to the clinical encounter, actual conversation.
Actually, yes. So anyway, I will not get out of that example. So, yung isa namin talaga dito is yung language. So, tapos, the verbal cue, na-accuse is very important. Kasi, pagpunta mo doon, makikita mo naman mo sa anak mo ay nasa. So, parang minsan hindi na nila alam kung isa. Tapos, marami silang, the language of the use, not only to speak Manila, Bisaya, or what to be. Kasi, kailangan, paano mo i-translate yung mga medical words into names? So, ito yung medyo challenge.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. Yeah. So you see here that language doesn't just mean the linguistic, no, the language is the language, but the language meaning also the level. So the level, if you're talking to a child, you use a different language. So in a way, age is also part of culture. If you're talking to millennials, iba din yun. Iba ang kulturang yun. As when if you're talking to Gen X, no, or baby boomers, so you have a different vocabulary. Anybody else? Let's proceed to the next encounter. Wards. Ward rounds or clinical rounds. Whether it's in the hospital or in the OPD. But doctor going around with her students. Did anybody talk about this in your encounters? Wala masyado. Yes? Microphone?
One or early our encounter, what we witnessed last year when we had this speech in our scenario where all people go yung patient na mag-driver niya. So parang, he appeared to be the broker between the patient and the our staff. So, he was trying to communicate the need for first aid services para sa bangga niya, which intimidated naman to our staff, which ended up not getting not getting prompt services. And instead of there's a conflict with the patient ended up in scenario. Okay.
In the case that you're pertaining to, um, well, so far I haven't read any opinion regarding that issue that criticized the health professionals as being incompetent. I mean, culturally incompetent. Because I think that was a clear case of that the patient was the one who was one cultural incompetence. I mean, the behavior was inappropriate. But I think that the doctor in that situation behaved appropriately because he was following protocols. But naging issue siya because the person is a celebrity. No? But yeah, so that's a good, of how, yes, we are commanding.
Yeah, I had a very difficult case and I made several rounds with my students. Actually, yung case na yun, which really turned out to be very bad. And of course, because the patient was studying in a Catholic school, yung ko, okay lang na mag-request ng blood transfusion, but it turned out that the mother of the patient was Jehovah's Witness and raised as Jehovah's talaga. But the father was a lawyer who was schooled in a Catholic university. So the initially talagang ayaw nila magpa-transfuse ng blood. So we were giving fluids. So my residents and I were also talking about the pros and the cons. But still, we said, please give us a decision because anytime, pwede naman magbago yung isip mo. Kasi initially, ayaw magpa-transfuse. But when the patient started vomiting blood clots already, nagkaroon ng nephritis din, ng kidney, nagkaroon ng pericardial effusion, and I really had to call the infectious disease service, the gastro specialist, the nephro, and the pediatrician. Eventually talagang pumayag yung ang naging decision maker was the father. And he was the minority in the family. Kasi yung wife niya, the family talagang staunch na Jehovah's Witness. Siya yung nag-decide na competence school. So,
Okay. But on your part, you went to the father. You were the one who identified. You were talking to both parties.
Both parents.
Okay.
Kasi, sabi ko, I will respect your decision. Pero alam mo kasi,
Buti hindi pa kayo nag-transfuse.
Diba?
Okay. Because you have to have the compliant permission of the parent.
Oo.
Okay.
Kaya yun, nag-diet yung platelets to zero.
Okay.
Pero, na-fall out.
Sige. So that's a good example na you need to know it. No? Actually, in this case, the policies are in place. Because if the institution did not have such policies in place, then posibleng na-transfuse nyo na bago nalaman na Jehovah's Witness pala yung parents. So this is again, it's a good example of showing how competence, cultural competence is at the level of the individual, at the level of the patient, the level of the health professional, and even at the level of the institution. So as an institution, you have to try to have policies in place so that nauunahan si health professional in case he was about to do something incompetent. Yes, Rani. You want to do this?
If they're under your head of operation, mother, nanay, tatay. And that alone, I just realized now that it was really culturally insensitive of us because some of the patients would usually, I miss pa ho ako. And they are sensitive about you calling them mother. Ay, sister na lang, ay, beshi na lang, gano'n. Pero I mean, there are patients who are, and as doctors, we usually, marami kasi lahat dito, tinatawag na yung mother. So, I mean, we are culturally insensitive in such a way na may mga patients din na sensitive sa kanilang social status.
But buti na lang, we're still in the Philippines na more or less working on the benefit. When we do working on the benefit of good intentions, we usually do it para to relax the patient. So hindi pa tayo makakabla. Kung nasa ibang bayan na baka nakabla na tayo. Mga ganyan. Ngayon, there are issues regarding addressing, the proper addresses, etc. Okay, so ward rounds, we showed operating room. May issue ba of cultural competence in the operating room? Oh? Because it's a 4. Walang operation at 4 o'clock, ganun. Because 4 means death. The number 4 is very similar, the character is very similar to their character for death. That's why they don't like 4. Or basically anything na pababa yung last stroke. They don't like it. That's why they like 3, yeah. 8, yeah. Mga ganyan. So, mga ganyan. So, I did not know that. No? So, walang 4. 4 o'clock, huwag ka magkakasakit ng 4 o'clock. Okay. Okay. Explaining your treatment plan, diagnosis, na-mention ng genetic counseling, any other encounters?
Our diagnosis is usually either a chronic illness or sometimes very terminal. And it's in a culture, especially in Asia, and Dr. Kong knows this, especially in palliative care. Majority, sort of 95% of families won't like to disclose the diagnosis to the patient. So it's an Asian thing.
Okay, so only the parents will know.
Usually it's the family, whether the children or the wife who are hesitant to disclose the full diagnosis to the patient kasi they feel lalo siyang mawawalan ng pag-asa. So the third is they want to protect you from the bad news, which creates the conflict with the health team. So you want to prepare the patient for the possible eventuality and die of the illness. So there's that dynamics there that needs to be done.
Okay. But again, we are in the Philippines, we have to contend with that. So, and, okay, if you are in the West, you have problems because yung rights of the patient. They have the right to know. So, pwede kang mga control.
Pero hindi nagagawa naman ng paraan.
Yes.
It's more of really talking to the family.
Yes.
But there are ways
we are in the Philippines na.
Expect
We have to respect that this is the way we are here. It's the family that needs to know first. Then you have to convince the family. But for them kasi, if ever sasabihin sa pasyente, it's them that will say it maybe, not the doctor. No? Or kung hindi nila kaya, then they will say
you
the
give them the
doctor.
choice.
Yes. You tell the doctor, Doc, ayaw mag-explain. Mahina-hina si nanay. But usually, we look for somebody. They look for a brother. Kung kakaiba, they look for the brother, the uncle, or etc. So I think their default preference is somebody in the family who's malakas, who will talk to the
And I
family.
think that's the big part of that because Asia, like it's a family oriented.
Yes.
So decisions, kaya nga, even when I secretly were talking to me 10, 15 years ago, I would be gung-ho in saying, patient talaga dapat patient. As you grow old and experience mga dynamics ng patients, you have ways to gently introduce the idea to the patient. May lumiya ka. You can just say, there are bad cells in your body. So parang you get the patient aware of the disease without disrespecting. Kasi you will encounter talaga. As a doctor, you should be able to respect those.
Siya yung kasama nila.
My question there is that, is it not just cultural because we are unaware also of the patient rights? I mean, sa mga Pilipino lagi natin sinasabi, hindi protektahan natin. No, you don't know that your patient has rights. Parang ganun parang yun yung dilemma ko palagi pag nagpapaliwanag sa patient. Karapatan niya malaman, lagi kong sinasabi, katawan niya, siya magsasabi. He has the right to know.
So, parang, you can probably talk about that. regardless of the diagnosis. In other words, alam mo naman magpapacheck up eh. So you would say, kanino nyo sino gusto nyo involved ng diagnosis?
Pero hindi parang may issue, may question there is it not just a matter of food na, di ba siya level of awareness din ng mga Pilipino? Or talagang culture lang natin na gusto natin protektahan. Kasi I see also families na they're not, pero hindi naman sila na-educate na may karapatan si patient na may karapatan siya mag-decide for himself or herself.
So, as I said, we will not solve problems here. No? It's enough that you're able to identify this is an issue. So, I think it's conversation. No? You have to converse. No? And even in that one, I don't think we can give a rule. But the point is, because kung siguro na, yun na nga, no? Mamamatay na yung pasyente, hindi ko yung sinasabi sa kanya. So, but I don't think naman sa natin kasi nga, we are very family-oriented. So, it's more of you have to guide the family if they're already not appropriate, if they're neglecting, or if they're denying. Kasi I think they're going through the denial phase. So, we have to guide them on. So, maraming trabaho talaga sila. So, we have to guide them. No? Maybe it can be, I don't know if there is now a developing profession for this, yung healthcare, palliative care, etc. But all of you kasi need to know it. Kasi bago naman tawagin si palliative care, ayun yung unang identify that there is an ongoing issue already. So, okay, and then this one is a picture of compliance. I mean, explaining, following up. Pag hindi na compliant yung pasyente, how will you convince them? Anything here, post-op? Yung mga examples na ano nyo. Meron pa tayong hindi na-mention, pero hindi pa nagsalita. The groups, the 8 groups. Yes, what was the experience that you identified?
Good afternoon, I would just like to share experience ko namin students. I found from business students in the ICU 3 years now. So, we have encountered a Chinese national always. They're just doing business here in the Philippines. So happened, magkaroon siya ng disease. Okay? So, nag-expire siya. Here comes the relatives who pronounce the death yung doctor. So they have this interpreter. Kaya nabigyan na natin yung Chinese. Usap sila na sila yung hospital care. Kasi meron silang belief, meron silang rituals, prayers, sila yung beliefs. So, ang decision ng networks after na ng documentation, kasi may mga protocols po tayo na pagka may namamatay, may documentation, sige natin sila, may mga charity after that, okay, baka sila, and then, binigyan sila ng 5 days. That's how she responded to the glorified rest of the diba kasi yung ano nila, iba yung ano nila.
So that was a very respectful way. So, okay. So basically, all clinical encounters requiring communication. So, will require cultural competence. So, nung una nga, nag-check ko, nalagay ko ng cross doon sa OR. Kasi tulog yung pasyente eh, paano ka mag-communicate. But then, in the wider, the health professionals with each other, or the decision to operate or not. So but basically, all clinical encounters requiring communication will need cultural competence. Okay? So levels of social cultural barriers to care and interventions included. So you have here what we've been saying beforehand. You have the clinical level, so the patient provider encounter. You have the structural level. So for example, the processes of care, the policies, the sequence, or even that there are or there are not translators, interpreters, the health materials that you give out, are they in the proper or are they in the language that is understandable to your patients, etc. So those are all structural level evidences. No? And then the organizational level, the leadership, the workforce, the policies. And then interventions will include education and cultural competence. When it comes to the structural, employing interpreter services, language appropriate materials, and then in interventions, even the policies regarding recruitment of health professionals. So is there a need to incorporate there that a certain percentage will have to have, so there has to be a distribution or representation. If the population is significant, then maybe you need to put it here. It has to be a significant amount that locals are speaking, at least speaking the language of the local. Okay. Okay, so the goal of cultural competence education is to equip the health providers with a KSA, knowledge, skills, attitudes, to better understand and manage the social cultural issues in a clinical encounter. Okay. So if you're writing your KSA, as we said, is one of the more difficult parts of instructional design, designing your KSA. So I found these two sets. This one is cultural competence and conceptual framework. Wherein he identified, this one is very, malikli lang yung kanyang list. Dalawang knowledge, tatlong attitudes, and dalawang skills. Cultural competence, knowledge of epidemiology and manifestation of diseases, knowledge of the effects of treatment according to the ethnic group, awareness of how the culture shapes behavior and thinking, in the social context, and then awareness of one's own prejudices and bias, and then the skill, the ability to transfer information, so communication, the ability to adapt to new situations flexibly and creatively. So I just want to point out that there is a large content, cognitive content included in the KSA, and then procedural content, but mostly communication. And then I found another one which is more extensive, intercultural knowledge, mas specific yung kanya, no? Dietary habits, foods, cultural values, practices, even the family structure. Is it matriarchal or patriarchal? Kasi nga that will determine who do you talk to, who makes the decision, nuclear versus extended. The effect of religion on health practices and beliefs. In particular, they even pinpointed attitudes towards death. In the Philippines, when somebody is sick, for whatever reason, nanganak, or may sakit, no? It's automatic, kailangan ko bibisita. We visit our sick in the hospitals. In some countries, it's not. Because sickness is something that is not something to publicize. So you don't visit your sick. You wait for them to go home. And then you visit the whole day in the house, etc. So I don't know if it's because of hospital policies or if it's there's something culturally that they don't like to, it's awkward for them to talk about sickness and to be with a person who's sick. There's even mention here of immigrants, the significance of verbal and non-verbal communication. Okay? So you can look at this. So intercultural knowledge and then intercultural skills. Again, a lot of them have to do with communication. Communicating, verbal and non-verbal behaviors, essential language proficiency, and then ability to apply principles of clinical epidemiology to common illnesses. So more of yung the capacity to explain technical, not using technical language jargon, being able to explain it, the language that the patient will understand. So that's part of the skill, the communication skill. And then the attitudes. Again, recognizing the importance, acknowledging the patient's role in his or her own care. And then the third one is interesting. Set responsibility for the patient who has few support systems. Avoid the what can I do attitude when facing a patient in abject poverty or with language barriers. So, assuming the responsibility because the patient, you have more resources than the patient. Kumbaga, assume that the patient is already at the wall. So you have to be the one to refer the patient to the necessary office. Kung hindi man ikaw, because you also have to stick to your post. Because you can naman pwedeng dala-dala mo si pasyente wherever you need to go. But at least direct the patient to where they need to go so that they can get the care that they need. So it's not, magtanong-tanong ka dyan. And then they're lost. And hit or miss. Nakala na si Batman, if they find the proper person. So, but to assume the responsibility, to accept the responsibility. So, that is part of cultural competence, cultural sensitivity. So, basically, the 3 A's: aware, assess, and adapt. So, be aware of the commonly held medical beliefs, assess the likelihood that such is affecting the specific illness episode, and then adapt and find a way to successfully negotiate. Basically, respect. So that sequence is a show of respect. Okay, so ito sabi ko may extra kayong genetic counseling. So I saw this article and I was very impressed. No? So this is the I don't know, are you involved in this? Pangalan niyo ba to? Palapakan natin. Okay, so this is very interesting kasi nga, it's explaining, I mean, it's exactly what we're trying to say. No? So the contextualizing cultural competence. So this is a group of genetic counselors who study how culture affects the disease, the belief of their population, the way they perceive of their disease, or the way they perceive causation, disease causation. And they came up with these results. So ganda-ganda, no? So they were able to come up with a table showing common Filipino beliefs, cultural beliefs like mana, lihi, pasma, supa, and gaba, incompetent, na maligno, kaloob ng Diyos. So these are common Filipino beliefs, and the English translation. And what they studied is how the people use these cultural beliefs to explain certain diseases. So, achondroplasia, physical features, family history of cancer, sudden nocturnal bangungot, and recurrent miscarriages. So so these are the cultural beliefs that people and then how they use them. So ito yung usual explanations of the people to explain this disease entities. So this is very interesting because it's relevant to them as genetic counselors, right? So they need to know that this is how people perceive of illnesses. And some of them, genetically transmitted diseases, they need to know so that they can communicate. They can use it to effectively communicate. So their conclusion was that awareness of these beliefs led to successful counseling and therefore positive health outcomes. So not necessarily kukontrahin mo yung beliefs nila, but you can use it to communicate effectively. Okay. So stages of development. So, in case, there are many things in the literature regarding, you can find questionnaires regarding cultural competence. You can find indices. So, but this is one, stages of development of cultural competence from conventional. I don't know why they call that conventional, because it's about prejudice and aversion to diversity. So, and then you have defensive, ambivalent. So you are aware but you're unwilling to change. Integrative and inclusive. Integrative is you support equality, but inclusive is you're comfortable with it. In fact, your default mode is to seek inclusivity. So these are the stages of development. But again, my point here is that in your context, you're going to have to define what is under each of these, given your population or your institution or your profession, like how the genetic counselors did it. Okay, strategies in teaching cultural competence. So similar to the previously, it was from the point of view of overcoming barriers to care. So this one is more proactive now, how to teach cultural competence. So we have the individual, self-reflection, role modeling, values clarification, work-based learning. We will discuss this a little bit more towards the end. And then institutional level, orientation programs, courses in foreign language, student organizations welcoming multicultural memberships, student support, etc. So these are the different, at the institutional level, how we can incorporate cultural competence. Okay, these are very practical things. Since we said that majority of the cultural competence takes place during communication between patients and health professionals. So this is a very useful model, the learned model. Can you think of what is L? Listen. So listen with sympathy and empathy to the patient's perception of the problem. So the very first sign of cultural competence is that you listen before you talk. So you listen first, what does the patient think of their disease? So listen. Second, E is not good, pero empathy is already included in the listening. Not yet. Not yet. Huh? Listen. Explain. So first you listen to their perception of the disease, and then you explain. You explain your perception of the problem. So patas lang. Siya muna, explain, and then ako naman, I will explain. So A, galing, acknowledge. So hindi pwedeng sabi niya, feeling ko A. Sabi mo, alam ko kasi B. Tapos yung next mo is, so ngayon, gawin na natin si B. Parang, makinig ka ba? So sinabi ko. So first is, listen, explain, And then acknowledge kung tama o mali. I mean, hindi tama o mali, pero was there similarity or differences in what we said? So listen, explain, acknowledge the difference or the similarity in what you both said. So you're not gonna say, ako yung tama, ikaw yung mali, doktor ako, nag-aral ako, etc. So none of that, you just acknowledge. This is what's similar, this is what's different in what we said. And then R, everything is respect. Ano lang tayo sa the doctor, after you treat, after you make your, di ba, nag-diagnose ka? What's after diagnosis? Treatment plan. So you recommend a treatment plan. So the word, that's why the R is the word, because you recommend. So you don't give your treatment plan, or you recommend a treatment plan. So N is, after you recommend your treatment plan, what's N? May mga CMA ganito title. Trabaho to. No charge. Kasi sabi mo, pwede iba eh, di ba? You listen, you explain, negotiate. So you negotiate. So that's the learn model, no, for the communication. You listen, you explain, you acknowledge, you recommend, you negotiate. Okay, 4 other tips. Observe how they behave, mirror, match their body language. So kung hindi tumitingin sa'yo, huwag mong habulin yung mata. No? Okay? So observe and mirror. Okay? And then the second is aware, appreciate, and adapt to differences. Number 3, do not assume. And this is important because naman, sometimes knowledge of the culture will lead you naman to stereotype. So you also have to know that the person is individual. The person is also distinct from their culture. So you also have to know that it's possible that the person is Ilocano, pero hindi ko ito. Stereotype. So mga ganyan, no? So a person is not perfectly identified to their culture. So acknowledge that also. So do not assume. And then finally, patience. Patience with their style of communication. Okay. So tapos na tayo sa cultural competence. I want to show you this little clip. Papatuwa lang. Just to show how it's important. It's not medical, but this is the one that I couldn't find a medical na hindi na maikli.
In some Asian cities, it's considered acceptable for a commuter to fall asleep on the shoulder of a stranger. In New York, it's quite a different story. Of course, you can always adapt. We're the global bank that never underestimates the importance of local knowledge. HSBC, the world's local bank. The English believe it's a slur on the whole food I don't feel okay. Whereas the Chinese feel Christian generosity into and HSBC never underestimate the importance of local knowledge, which is why they have local banks staffed by local people in over 80 countries across the globe. HSBC, the world's local bank.
The last one.
In America, if you get home, you're expected to buy everyone a drink. However, in Japan, it's traditional to buy your playing partners expensive gifts. Saying all. At HSBC, we never underestimate the importance of local knowledge. HSBC, the world's local bank.
So lesson, aware. You have to be aware so that you can respond appropriately. Hindi maubos yung pera niyo. Kapilin. Expensive. Okay, so ready for the next one. Mabilisan na to because cultural competence is like an overarching, like an umbrella competence. So ito na, nasasagasaan na natin si gender sensitivity, that one. So gender sensitivity, so gender refers to the socially constructed characteristics of women and men, and such as norms, roles, relationships of and between groups of men and women. So the important thing is that they need to appropriate, usually they come with acceptable or appropriate norms and behaviors. And I like the icon underneath, gender stereotypes, pros and cons. Because we tend to think of gender stereotypes, right? We think right away of cons, but they're necessarily bad. But there are, well, at least what this icon is telling us, there are pros and cons. So, gender norms refer to beliefs about women and men, boys and girls, that are passed on from from generation to generation through the process of socialization. What are examples of gender norms? Boys are strong, women are sensitive. Right? So that's an example of a gender norm. So I want to show you this video, which is super good. But listen, well, you have to read. So I hope you can read the text, the subtitles. Okay. The exchange between this little boy and the nurse, or he calls her doctor, but the one who's injecting. Okay. So yun, no? So, did you notice that the boy, the reasoning of the boy is, I am a man, I am a boy, I should be brave. So in a way, yeah, passed on. The gender norm is passed on. Boys are supposed to be brave. So, did you notice how the nurse responds? Sinabi ba niya, mali yan. No, na, it doesn't follow that boys are brave and girls are. So kumbaga, she didn't do anything. She didn't, but at the same time, she did not play. What is my word? Hindi siya nakirayton, no? Hindi niya in-ingrain. No? Yes, boys are supposed, are you a boy? Are you a boy? No? Or worse. No? Ba't ka umiiyak? Bakla ka ba? So you get it. So she did not play or she did not take advantage of that gender norm that the boy had. But she used it. She used it to say, yes, you can be brave. No? Hindi niya ginamit. No? Hindi niya in-underscore. No? And there was another thing that when she was talking, she says, let auntie. So, I don't know, that's not really gender sensitive. Maybe it's a combination of gender and cultural sensitivity. No? So, she did not call herself a doctor or a nurse. She called herself auntie. Why? Because for most of us, our experience of auntie is gentle. No? It's more, auntie doesn't hurt us. Not like a doctor. So medyo this doctor, so I chose this video just to show again that gender norms are not necessarily bad, not contra. We don't need to reject all gender norms because some of them are useful, or some of them are can be used to educate, or to what is wrong, or what we cannot allow is that they lead to inequality. So that the gender norms lead to inequality, and they will do this if they reinforce mistreatment of one group or sex over the other. Or you end up with differences in power, differences in opportunities. So in the business world, this is a common, they have what they call the glass ceiling. So glass ceiling is that in the corporate, especially in the corporate world, we have very few women reaching CEO level. So no matter how competent you are, how excellent you are in business, there is a ceiling. They call it glass because you won't find it in any policy, you won't find it written anywhere, but for some reason, your promotion hits the ceiling. So hanggang doon lang yung mga women executives. So whereas the men get promoted, they reach the CEO level. So that's what's called the glass ceiling. So I don't know with the health professions how visible or how real is the glass ceiling for you. So I found this other on the internet. So boys are doctors, girls are nurses. So that is again a gender. That one is more obvious. That is inequality there. So, and then of course, if there is stigma, discriminatory practices, social exclusion because of your specific gender, or practices, then so this is where it becomes a bad thing. We have to educate against it because these things can lead to adverse health outcomes. Okay, so gender inequality, based on certain susceptibility to different health conditions and diseases, and access to and uptake of health services, and therefore health outcomes. So it's basically the same discussion we had earlier on social determinants of health and social cultural barriers to care. And just to show again, this one is a very often researched topic. The WHO has a whole study where they study gender and health in the Western Pacific region. Okay, we will not go into the content of this one. I just wanted to show you how extensive is their research. They research trends in gender inequality index. So they have these indices, again, this comes with questionnaires, and they did this in different countries. And the nice thing here is that it shows that the Philippines is right there in the middle, 0.5. And through time, 2000 to 2012, medyo nag-improve tayo. Towards the end, siguro nung nasa 0.48 na lang tayo. But basically, even to start with, hindi tayo ganun ka bad. So we're right there in the middle. Adult literacy rates. Again, you'll see that the Philippines, we are basically equal. So the men and the women, the literacy rates is the same. 93.3, 93.9. So hindi tayo masyado, it's not so obvious to us. But leading causes of death in men and women, okay, so again, we won't go into the specifics. All I want to show you is that inaaral nila ito mga to. So that there are disease entities that are gender, specific. They are more prevalent to one or the other. Obesity. So it's nice to know that the Philippines is not high, it's again not high up there. Maliban na lang sa amin dito sa Oy, grabe, mag-exercise na kami. Okay. Problems in accessing health care when they were sick. Problema hindi kasama yung Philippines. So I cannot tell you how we fared in relation to the other countries. But these are the things that they study. Full immunization coverage. So basically this shows that with education, the more educated the mother, the more they immunize the children. Again, it's a good thing. And in other countries, the difference is not so much, but in the Philippines, it's very dramatic. The spread is okay. We will not do this anymore because we basically covered the previous discussion. Okay, so the goal is for education and gender sensitivity to eliminate health disparities and to have gender responsive health professionals. So we will define what is gender responsive and what is gender sensitivity. So gender sensitivity refers to the ability to recognize gender issues, especially women's different perceptions and interests, rising from their unique social location and gender roles. So basically, understanding and consideration. So that is what gender sensitive means. Again, you will see that it will follow again the same aware, assess, and adapt. So you have to first be aware that something is at play. You assess how it's affecting the situation, and you adapt. You respond. In this case, they call it responding. Okay, raise gender awareness, which is not just about, it's a dignity at work, equality, as we said, equal opportunities. It started out with equal pay, just distribution of work, and just remuneration. And then an understanding of the different situations of women. You have the violence against women, and then you have the special needs. So there are many issues that have to do with gender. So ito lang yung mga hanapan ko ng icons in the web. But this is an important distinction: gender equality versus gender equity. What are we after? What is the difference? So gender equality versus gender equity. What do you think? What would be the difference between them? Gender equality means you give equal conditions. So you try, it's absolute. Equal conditions. You aim for having equal conditions for both men and women. Equal opportunities to contribute to their health development, benefits, from the results of healthcare, etc. Gender equity. So yung gender equality, men is equal to women. Therefore, they have to be given the exact same opportunities. For gender equity, you're acknowledging that men are not the same as women. And therefore, it refers to the process of being fair to women and men, with the objective of reducing unjust and avoidable inequality between them in health status, access to health services, and then contributing to the health workforce. So, but it is in acknowledgement that there are differences. So, I'm thinking now of the health leaves that we are entitled to. The maternity leaves. Now there are maternity leaves. But I don't know if they are the same number of days. I think that they're not. So in other words, yeah. No? So in other words, you don't expect the same number of days to be given to maternity leaves and maternity leaves. Kasi iba ang ginagawa ng mother sa maternity leave. So it's acknowledging the differences and therefore responding to those differences so that there are not any unjust inequalities. Gender, and again, this simply says that awareness comes before responsiveness. So you have to first analyze. There's a lot of research going on regarding this. We already showed you how the WHO is researching everything up to obesity, men and women. Okay. And then gender responsive. Gender responsive means that you are actively working to reduce the harmful effects. So you're not just gender aware, you're not just gender sensitive, but you are gender responsive. You are doing something. And we'll show you there. Nice. Okay, so again, this is the WHO Gender Responsive Assessment Scale. So you have the gender unequal, gender blind, gender sensitive, which is the beginning. It's awareness. At least you are aware. Gender aware. So gender sensitive, gender specific, and then gender transformative. So yung gender specific, you address the causes of gender-based inequalities or inequities. For gender transformative, you are actively targeting specific needs of the men and the women according to what you identify are their needs. So gender transformative. Again, you can look at the WHO to find out how they operationalize this, and they will come up with a questionnaire that you can run, etc. Okay, this is a project by our very own Erwin and Mel and lot of other people. Okay, again, similar to what I showed you earlier about the genetic counselors, no? Contextualizing the whole concept of cultural competence into their field. In this case, this group of researchers contextualize gender sensitive to their population, which is the Philippine judiciary. So they tried to come up with a training program to train the judiciary on this issue of gender sensitivity. So just to show you, so this is a sample instructional design. So just to show you again that it's not, you can't get, like I can't get this and run this in another population. So this competencies need to be defined according to your context, according to your institution. But the important thing is, what I earlier, the division of the breaking down the competency to awareness, assessing, and adapting. Okay. So subject matter, later when we go to the how to train, I will go specifically to this one. Okay. Finish na tayo na. Social accountability. Social accountability. Social accountability, it's about social. From the word social, it tells you na madaming tao involved. Social accountability is a participatory process. It's a collaborative process. So it's team play. So it's about getting all the people that are, all the stakeholders involved in the healthcare of the population, of your chosen population. So it's a participatory process in which citizens are engaged to hold politicians, policymakers, and public officials accountable for the service that they provide. Okay, this is my last video. People power solution.
To give birth to her baby, she'll need a sanitary clinic with electricity, running water, medicine, and a doctor. But where she lives, these are not a guarantee. What she doesn't know is that she's entitled to more from her government, and she isn't empowered to ask for change. Social accountability can solve her problem. It's an approach for non-governmental organizations working in her community to help make government spending and services more effective. This involves informing the mother and her community what services they are entitled to, and facilitating dialogue between the mother and her health worker. Together, they can find ways to make services more accessible and appropriate with limited resources. But changes at the government level require advocacy backed by evidence. The whole community can be involved in monitoring health services, recording medicine stockouts, and reporting each time the doctor is absent. They use this evidence to advocate for better government spending and services. With these efforts, she has her best chance of having a healthy birth. But it doesn't have to stop there. Social accountability can improve education, food security, and access to clean water. Some of the most important things her child needs for a healthy, productive future. See the potential.
Hey, that was a very nice video. So accountability means holding the stakeholders accountable. And this means political, financial, other forms of power, and government officials, private corporations, international financial institutions, civil society organizations, NGOs. So getting as much of these people involved in the delivery of healthcare. And of course, in the local, the community itself, getting them involved in their own healthcare. So we're not the ones that think what they need. They have to tell us what they need also. Okay. So the WHO definition for medical schools will say that, for example, in the definition of curriculum, a medical school needs to respond to what the population actually needs. So we don't make our curriculum based on the textbook, but first of all, we have to define what is this, what the community that we're in, what are their health concerns. And that identification, prioritization has to be done in conjunction with government officials, healthcare organizations, health professionals, the public. So core principles of social accountability in medical schools, relevance. So you have to teach what the population needs. According to the disease that's prevalent there, you have to put more emphasis on those things. Quality, cost effectiveness, and equity. And this applies to the fields of education, research, and service. So, in short, it is about producing the right doctors who practice the right medicine with the right partners at the right time, at the right place. Social accountability is very difficult to measure. So, because it involves the whole span of the school, from the planning of the curriculum to the delivery to the impact, and how many of the schools have data regarding their impact on society. So ito yung alumni nga natin, hindi natin makawa. So how much more yung impact nila sa kanilang community. So those things basically, it's difficult to measure because we don't plan for the measuring of our impact. So understandably, social accountability, a lot of literature has to do with measuring, assessment of social accountability. So, but they're broken down again. Again, if you'll notice, this is one breakdown: social awareness, social responsibility, social accountability. So from just being aware of the issue to building the issue to the educational activities that we plan for our students to actually measuring the consequences of our curriculum on the society, on the community. So, social accountability. Okay, this is the social obligation scale, just to show you the difference between responsibility to responsiveness to accountability. Okay, so basically responsibility. I will let you take a picture because I will change it. Okay, so regarding social needs identified, institutional objectives, educational programs, quality of the graduates, focus of evaluation, assessors. So you can see that there is a progression. Responsible means that you are committed to what you intuitively consider as the welfare of your community. So the intention is to produce good practitioners, competent practitioners, based on the implicit identified societal needs. So, but it's, nag-upo ka maybe with some stakeholders, nag-isip kayo, what are the needs of society? And then you drew up a curriculum based on that. So you're committed to that curriculum. So that is, you are a responsible medical school. But a socially responsive medical school responds to society's welfare by directing its education, research, and service towards explicitly identified health priorities. So the faculty intends, so hindi lang good practitioners, You want to produce graduates that possess specific competencies, addressing the people's health concerns. So it's already responsive to the here and now, this particular community. So hindi, tsaka explicit, hindi lang sa pinag-isipan ko what are the needs of the society. Hindi, ito, I have, based on communication with the locals, based on observation, these are explicit needs of this community. I respond to that need, and I draw up the curriculum, and I produce the graduates that this society or this community needs. The socially accountable medical school works collaboratively with government, health service organizations, and the public to positively impact people's health. And they demonstrate this by providing evidence that its work is relevant, high quality, equitable, and cost effective. So it's very similar to responsive, except that you go beyond. You actually have proof to show that your curriculum, your medical school mattered. It affected or it affected what you intended. Kaya siya mahirap. No? Mahirap yung measuring of the social accountability. So yung social responsibility, social responsiveness, pwede pa. But yung social accountability, it's hard to measure that. Because you have to measure up to the effect of your curriculum. You have to update that to show. Okay. So very quickly, now in the how do you teach these competencies? How hard is it to teach attitudes? Role modeling, very good. No? So how hard is it to teach this one? It's very hard. No? Why? Because again, it's about values. So it's not about what they know. You can lecture knowledge, but it's about how they will decide to behave. And that one, you are not in control of that. You cannot tell them how to behave. So it's very difficult to teach attitudes. So right now we have this model that we are trying to use, the TPAC. So just we will not go too much into the details of it. I just wanted to show you that on the area of content, learning objectives. So okay, we have to go through the usual. How do you teach? First is identify your learning objectives. We said that for each of these competencies, you have to be able to identify the A, the S, and the A. The knowledge, the skills, and the attitudinal components. And in listing down your learning objectives, you can specify, you can break down the competencies to its assessment dimension, the awareness dimension of it, the component, assessment component, and the adaptive component. So each of these competencies, social competence, gender sensitivity, social accountability, will have those three components: awareness, capacity to assess, and capacity to adapt. So your learning objectives have to have those three components. When it comes to the cognitive component, the only thing I would say is you have to be in on the conversation. You have to define. So, maraming lumabas sa literature, di ba? Maraming scales, the scales of gender sensitivity, the scales of social accountability, the scales of etc. But you need to contextualize that in your profession, in your institution, in your community. So, you need to be in on the designing of the cognitive component, choosing the content of your course or how you're going to teach this. And then on the attitudinal component or the pedagogical component, you need to design opportunities to observe, reflect, and experience. Because this is the how do you teach attitudes. You can't lecture it. You can't watch a video. You have to design for them opportunities to observe, reflect, and experience. And then, hindi yan error, another reflect. So, nagdagan niyo pa isa pang reflect. So, madaming reflect. Okay? So, these are the usual. I've already heard it from some of you. Indoctrination, values clarification, and role modeling. This is what we learned. How to teach attitudes. Indoctrination is simply transmitting from one group to the other what is right. Rules and regulations, rituals, rewards and punishments, titles. So this one, there will be a place for it still, but how effective is it in educating? It can be used for transmitting. You transmit, especially if you're joining an institution. There are rules and regulations in the institution. The fastest way to transmit that is lecturing. Have it pasted somewhere. The vision, mission of our institution. Put it on a t-shirt. Make them wear it. So, but that's indoctrination. Orientation. Unilateral feedback. Pag may misbehave, call to the office, tell them, in this institution, this is how we do it. These are our policies regarding gender sensitivity. These are our policies regarding cultural competence. So that is indoctrination. You're simply transmitting the information. But it's not very, you're not really touching unless you communicate a lot and you process it together. But just the telling of it will not transmit, will not educate. You will not transmit the attitude. So that's the strength and weakness of that method. Okay. Your values clarification. This one is more conversational. We clarify the questions. So when do we do this? Debriefing. When you debrief, either solo or in groups. When you do video analysis, when you watch a video and you have a small group discussion afterwards, then you can tackle attitudinal components in that discussion. Role playing, journaling, with or without mentoring, but journaling and making them reflect on their journaling itself is reflection. So, but those are the activities wherein the person will be able to come to terms with their values. And if you add the component of dialogue, then there could be values clarification. And then role modeling. So role modeling, very powerful. It can make or break 1 hour lecture. 1 hour long lecture about gender sensitivity. Paglabas mo ng kwarto, sinigawan mo yung driver, because of their, I don't know, you made a disparaging remark. Wala na yung lecture mo. So, role modeling, consistency. Okay? Okay, this one, the importance of having still rounds, intramural practices, wherein the students observe you. Video analysis, again, with SGDs, role playing, wherein you can be part of the role play. So these are different ways of. But there is one. Well, it's not a teaching activity. It's more of a big framework. A teaching framework, which in a way, 3-in-1 din siya. It can tackle all 3 in one teaching or one framework. Can you think of this? One curricular model or curricular framework wherein you can 3-in-1 teach cultural competence, gender sensitivity, and social accountability. Such as C. Community-based. I think I made a community-based education. So this is the real 3-in-1. We will not discuss this because this is not the lecture topic. So if you like, you can put it in the feedback if you want a lecture about it, because this one easily can fill up seminar, monthly sem in itself. see how community-based education can tackle all three competencies. Because you're in the community, you're defining the needs of the community, you're teaching it. All the experiences that you have during can be used for teaching cultural competence, gender sensitivity, and definitely social accountability, because you're going to learn how to communicate with barangay officials, NGOs, the influencers in that community, etc. So that's a very potent educational framework. If you want an easy how to teach those three in one go, I'd say look up community-based education. Okay? So in summary, because we are now a global village and our aim is health for all, we need health professionals who are culturally competent, gender sensitive, and socially accountable. Basically, we follow the what, why, how. So these three are competencies of the 21st century professionals. And if you want a breakdown of those competencies, just follow the aware, assess, and adapt like components of those competencies. Why is it important? Because as health professionals, we need to know how to behave appropriate to the context in front of us, and basically eliminate healthcare disparities. And then, how are we going to teach it? Regarding content, join the conversation. Be in on the conversation, because these are relatively new when it comes to curricular designs. And as we said, we can't just get curriculums from the States and apply it here. So you have to define your own curriculum, how these competencies translate to your community, to your institution, to your profession. Define the content. Pedagogy, the important thing is to design opportunities to observe, reflect, and experience. And the technology, search and research, because there's so much materials now. What you're into is like video,